Okay, here we go. So this is part 2. Okay, so again, complex kapu, very specific, and this is to govern a large population during this time period. Very stratified, so that's what I was attempting to draw here. You have ruling chief, you have other ali'i nui, you have the lower level ali'i, kaukau ali'i, and then this is, I'll draw a dotted line here for the kahuna because they're not exactly a class. They're not a social class, but they're a class by occupation. So it's like a socioeconomic class, you might say. So think about it in terms of Western European ideas. These would be like people in Europe who have lots of money but no titles. You know what I mean by that? It's what they call the nouveau riche, the new rich. Those people. They have skills, but they don't have hereditary rank. Some of them might be ali'i, but they're not high ali'i. But they have some kind of skill. And then regular maka'inana under that. And then there's actually a smaller class, kawa, under that. So, lots of layers. It's actually more complex than this here. There's several levels of ali'i there. Okay, very stratified. Lots of strata or layers here compared to the simple society. Okay. You guys have this slide? Yeah? Okay. Aspects of increased complexity? Yeah. Or is it? Or it's Kumemeha is personal heiau, yeah? In Kona. This, it's not exactly on the test, it's just going a little bit deeper so you can understand what I mean when I say complexity. Complexity is about expanding into unoccupied areas, so not always living on the windward side by the ocean, but expanding onto the leeward side and up Mauka. Yeah, so one of the last places you might live would be here in the Mauka side of Nanakuli Valley. Nanakuli, the name alone, meant referred to the fact that they didn't have water. So it would be one of the last places you would want to settle. Nanakuli, Nana, look, Kuli, knees, look to the knees. And the reference is that there was a tradition that said that when strangers come through your area, you have to give them water. It's enforced hospitality. But in Nanakuli, they had so little water, they couldn't afford to just give away water to strangers, so they would Nanakuli, they would look to their knees and pretend not to see the strangers. So that would be a leeward Mauka area that would be settled. In fact, nobody even lives there today. We settled very late. And the kapu were very strict. This is what would happen to you if you broke it. I don't know how well you can see that, but this person is being strangled to death by what they call the ilamuku, the enforcers or police, you might say. These are the guys with those gourd helmets. They're not actually helmets, they're actually masks. Because if you're executing someone, it's like the executioner's face is well hidden. I don't know if you've heard that expression. The executioner is not the one who sentenced you, so you don't want to blame them. They're just enforcing a rule. Oh, there was another option. You could lie on a stone platform and have your head bashed in. This is what would happen if you did not fulfill your kuleana in your ahupua, or you violated some kapu. So kuleana for Hawaiians is not responsibility like what we say you guys have, or you have responsibility, right? Get good grades. But if you did 60% of the work in this class, get your D, and still walk in May, still walk on the stage in May, really no serious repercussion. What if you did 60% of your work on the Poʻe? Death. Not a D, death. So do you have Kuleana right now? Not really. Not in the way Hawaiians thought of it. Okay, so things are strict. They're also very productive. The upside of that strict society, things being controlled, is high productivity. Fish hooks got better, but fish ponds are extremely efficient in increasing productivity. It's called aquaculture. They trap the rich nutrients that come down in a stream, and they create a rich feeding ground. And the fish can get in, but they can't get out. That's the idea. You have a gate, and you want to cultivate herbivorous fish, that is plant-eating fish in the fish pond. And then you want to be the carnivore eating the fish. You don't want carnivorous fish in your fish pond. That's one of the problems now. The few fish ponds that are restored and are functioning in Hawaii, they have barracudas in them. And they're eating other fish. That's not what you want. You want to be the one to eat the fish, not other fish, sharks in there. Right? But a fish pond could increase the productivity of the ocean by 100 times. 100 times as many fish. Hawaiians were the best fish pond builders in the Pacific, and that's how you had this increase in population. More food equals more people. You probably couldn't have had that kind of population growth without fish ponds. But that was in combination with agriculture, where the stream isn't flowing straight down into the ocean, it's being diverted into lo'i and slowly goes down through the land and then into the fish pond. In other words, the Ahupua'a, from the valley walls all the way into the ocean, is a giant food-producing machine. Do we have that today? No, we have water diverted at the source, right? We have the waterfall comes down and there's a pipe that just sucks it out and takes it to your golf course and your toilet. Those are the two biggest uses of water, domestic use of water today. And so we don't really have functioning ahupua'as on this island. Kahana Valley is close to functioning. Waimea is a little bit functioning. Everything else is pretty much, it doesn't function because the water doesn't go from mountain to sea. That's what ahupua'a really is. It's not about boundaries, it's about water flow inside the ahupua'a. Think of the boundaries are like the external shell of the ahupua'a, but the water flow is like the spine. That's the main thing. Irrigation. There's 1100 AD is the turning point, right? And that's where you start to see the manufacture of weapons. You find them in archaeological sites. And we all know that war is bad, right? But it doesn't mean war is completely pointless. Like, I'm against it, but I can recognize that there's sometimes a purpose for it. You think about an island, like let's take, I don't know, Kauai, because it's easy to draw. There's your Kauai. Okay, so you have 4 districts on Kauai. Roughly. So you have 4 chiefs, 1 chief over each district. This chief is good, this chief is bad, this chief is average, and this one's average. And by good, what do I actually mean? Okay. Oh no, okay. What would be a physical result of being, productive? Productive, yeah, in a balanced way, it's very productive. It makes the land produce a lot of food. Population growth is actually a good thing at this time. So, this is a good chief. Because he produces a lot of food, he can feed a lot of people. He can also feed a lot of soldiers. So this good chief is able to take over the bad chief. And is it a good thing for that chief to take over the other districts? Good for the island. Yeah, because that means you have a good chief over the whole island. And that's the trend in Hawaii was toward unification. It would always, districts would unify and then break up again. Unify, break up again. But over the very long term, the trend was toward unifying islands and then eventually all the islands. And Kamehameha was not the first one to try. He wasn't the first one to come close. There was a chief who almost unified all the islands back as far as 1300. And then Kahiko came relatively close, 10, 15 years before Kamehameha. So he wasn't the first one to come close. He's just the first one to actually get all the way. And this is the last battle. And that picture in Big Cave is the original. Yeah. One thing you notice, if you look closely in the picture, you see women in there fighting. So if I say he, always recognize that even the ruling chief, sometimes, once in a while, there would be a female ruling chief. It wasn't that common, but certainly warriors, female warriors was fairly common. Okay? Now, when you have a big society in the hundreds of thousands, how do you get people to follow you when they don't even know you? They can't even look at you. Your shadow can't touch them, or their shadow can't touch you. You have no contact. How do you control people when you have no contact? Sorry? Okay, it is partly through other people. There's enforcers, intermediaries, right? You better watch out, the king says this. But there's something deeper than that. And the answer is kind of on here. Religious practices but on a deeper level, how do you control people you don't know? It's a good thing to know. If you ever want to control people you don't know, they fear you. Okay, fear is one thing, but fear only goes so far, right? Okay, you're getting close. Why would they feel a sense of duty? That's the question. Okay, very, very, very close now. It's belief. They believe something about you. It's all in here. Yeah, they might fear you, but if they just fear you, eventually that turns into hate, right? And then they're going to try to overthrow you. They have to fear you a little bit, but kind of love you more. Hawaiians traditionally kind of worshipped. They loved their elite. Certainly we don't worship and love our elites anymore, do we? We do. We still do. Just as long as they're not alive, right? As long as they're dead, yeah, they're great. But you can't say you're elite today. I'm being kind of sarcastic. It's a belief system. So if you want to know how do you control people that you don't know, make them believe something about you that may or may not be true. And so that belief is connected to religion. So what I was trying to get out of you was religious belief, because the reason Kamehameha memorizes genealogy 99 generations, because that's what connected him to the gods. He was 99 generations removed from Papa and Wakea. But direct. It was direct. Okay, so what they also do is monumental architecture. So that belief has to have some kind of physical manifestation. So you build a large structure. It's kind of like cathedrals in Europe. You walk in there and there's the stained glass and the really high ceilings and the beautiful architecture. and the choir music hits you, and you just say, you're just kind of overwhelmed. Like, this is a great experience, must be a great God. But for Hawaiians, large heiau were like that, because these guys here, maybe from really far you can see there's people there passing stones. They pass the stones 20 miles. Is that economically productive work? Does that feed anyone? It doesn't feed anyone directly. It's kind of wasted work, but it creates this structure that leads to the belief system that then they will obey you and do the work to produce food and fight for you and all those other things. Does that make sense? Okay, into this complex society came Captain James Cook. We'll just start on Cook. When Cook arrived, there was this idea that Hawaiians thought Cook was a god, Lono. I'm going to skip ahead a bit and then come back to this slide because it's really hard to understand otherwise. You can see this picture here was the idea that Cook's sails resembled the banner of Lono, the Lono banners. Cook was arriving at the time of Lono, the season of Lono, which is what? Makahiki season. And he was arriving in the place of Lono. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the word akua, Lono is an akua, is related to makua and aumakua. You see that? That some Hawaiians say that what happens is, while you're alive, you have children, you're a makua. After you pass away, you become an aumakua. And then after a really, really long period of time passes, you become an akua. In other words, akua are just people from the beginning of time, like Lono. Okay? Are you with me? So if Lono was a man at one point, he must have lived somewhere, and the place that he lived was Keala Oke Akua, or in contraction, Kealakekua, Kealakekua Bay, Hawaii Island, in Kona. And this is a way to remember it. Keala Oke Akua, the path of the god. What god? Lono. Lono was from Kealakekua. So Cook was arriving in the time of Lono and at the place of Lono, and even looking like Lono, because his fair skin would have been considered a sign that he would stay out of the sun because of his high rank. There's a whole thing about that. Very, very, very high-ranking female elite would be kept indoors all day, their whole life. Okay, so when we come back next time, we're going to question that idea about Cook, whether or not Hawaiians actually thought he was Lono or not. Okay?